Oh my gosh. We're on. Hey, good afternoon. This is Heather Dell, and I'm with Melissa Taylor, Jay Taylor's, well, can I say it?
Of course.
Yeah, sister. We're all in the same big real estate family, Jay Taylor
We love
Associates.
nepotism.
Yeah, you're listening to Motown Realty, real information about real estate for real people. So, Melissa's in the business with us, and today I want to talk about, well, actually, I want to talk a little bit about the East Side, which well, I'm getting the high signs over here. I don't know.
I think I was out of the frame.
Oh,
Am we supposed
is
to
that
see my
better?
face?
Yeah, that's better. And also, thanks for tuning in at WJZZ Podcast Cool TV. Um, no, I was this person about the East Side, and I was always like, yeah, West Side, West Side, West Side, and but I'm just really falling hard for Jefferson Chalmers
Oh, of course.
and West Village.
So much.
And all of it. So we have this really cool listing coming up on Wayburn, 5081 Wayburn. Feel free. I give out my phone number all the time. We give out the website. You can contact us. It's a beautiful, fully restored bungalow. We got a whole handful of properties coming up over there. And what do you love best about that area?
Oh my gosh. I think I love a lot of the architecture. A lot of it came kind of post-war. You get a ton of Albert Kahn influence and a ton of other like really famous Detroit architects.
Mm-hmm.
Like love that area. You get walkability. You get just like I mean, if we can give a neighborhood a score, it's A plus plus over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's biking paths. There's
The DeQuinder Cut. There's.
the DeQuinder Cut. We could go on for days.
I know. I love
There's
the DeQuinder
food,
Cut.
There's drinks. There's Belle Isle. It just goes
The
on.
Aretha, the
Oh
Marina.
my gosh.
I know. And something that I was actually talking to Chris today, another one of our team members, and he has a single mom who is looking at one of the houses tomorrow. And if you want to see it before it goes on market, you can call Melissa at.
Yes. 313-858-0325.
You can call me at 248-464-1116. Find us online at J Taylor Associates. JTA, I always mess it up.
It's JTARealtors.com.
.com. Thank you. Never, ever say it right. And so anyway, Chris and I were talking about it, and he said, I think she feels a little concerned because there's like, where do you get groceries and where's this and where's that? And I said, in the short time that I have actually put down roots over there, everything's remarkably close. I think we get so comfortable with the northwest corner, 8 Mile, 7 Mile, 6 Mile, the Woodward, that whole thing. We get super comfy with it, with our supermarkets and our amenities and our ATMs and all that. But the east side, everything is right there. Even my favorite Aldi.
Aldi.
Favorite Aldi. So the property values over there, we've been talking about that, how that's going up. And we've got those great listings coming up.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you have coming up?
Oh man. This is kind of weird. We've had a number of sellers recently. They're worried about COVID. They're worried about people walking through their house. There's
no
legitimate
open
concerns,
houses.
no open houses, all that stuff. So we've done kind of a lot of things kind of more in-house this spring where it's they don't want it on the market. They don't want people to know. And
which we in theory, pocket listings are not technically, we do need to list.
For sure.
Like as far as the realtor's code of ethics.
Yeah.
But it's not realistic to think that if somebody has a property coming up and somebody knows about it, they're going to make the connection.
Yeah.
Especially in this market.
For sure. Yeah, this market's been bananas. There's not enough inventory, which I say that and then I have to laugh at myself. Detroit has so much inventory, but there's just not the inventory that people are looking for has been very, very low. So it's highest and best offers. It's multiple offer situations. Things are going under market within days of hitting the market. So it feels very different this spring than it has in other springs. So talk to someone like Heather who knows how to do a highest and best, who can make a really competitive offer that's going to win out on other offers.
Well, yeah, and I think, and you know this too, one thing that, this is actually a good segue, because today I want to talk about why you need a realtor, and also maybe why you don't, right? Okay. The business has changed a lot. When I got my license, you had to go to the real estate office, make an appointment, and we had the listings in books, like photocopies in the plastic sleeves, and you would flip through and you would pick a house or two, and then you would set up the showing and you would see the pictures. I mean, this is my lifetime and I don't even feel that old. So what I want to talk about today, a lot of times people, I had a couple last week, I showed them a house on Iroquois, and they had no idea how Zillow works. You know, she said, oh, we met like 3 different realtors, but this one was supposed to be a top premier agent, but he had no idea he didn't know the neighborhood, and he didn't know what he was talking about and all this stuff. And I was explaining to them that it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
So asking for referrals, working with people in your neighborhood, looking for the signs, the mailers, looking for your agents out and about that live in the area. These things are important because it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And all that information, none of it is deemed reliable.
Right.
It's just a consumer website. It's Zillow. The Zillow can do whatever it wants.
For sure. I always laugh about the estimate.
The zestimate.
Like, hey, my house, Zillow says my house is worth X, and it's like, well, it's a zestimate. They can't even legally call it an estimate.
Right.
And I don't want to rag on Zillow. They send us lots of leads. Thank you, Zillow.
We pay for them.
We pay for lots of leads.
Hello.
For Zillow. This is true.
We buy our own listings back.
No, this is true. I'll walk that back. We pay for a lot of our
Yeah.
leads on Zillow, and they have been helpful, but we do pay them for it. But and they are actively, they've got their own skin in the game.
Oh yeah, now they're doing mortgages and everything else.
Yeah, there'll be a one-stop shop, but you get stuff like Zestimates, who they don't know Detroit. They don't know that it goes block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood.
They don't send any. There's no Zestimate in your house looking at your updates.
Right. They don't know updates, and so they'll get something where like, hey, I just renovated this house, but it's telling me my house is only worth $30,000. It's like, well, it also doesn't know that you dumped $30,000 into all of the stuff. So don't let me come through and tell you what your house is more likely to be worth.
You know, I'll say they'll say, oh well, they put it at this or this, and I'm like, oh okay, so Zillow came out. You had the Zillow in the house. They walked through. Well, no. So okay, so then what are they basing it on? Well, I guess comps. I'm like, okay, well, if it's a comp, then it's a house that's just like yours. It's just as updated. The kitchens, the baths, right? The basement's dry. You have a newer roof, all that kind of. Well, no. I'm like, the Zillow is algorithms.
Yeah.
The Zillow is a great consumer app, but there's a lot of caveats with it. So we're actually going to have Dan, another team member, call in today. Dan, he routes a lot of our Zillow calls. He talks to a lot of first-time buyers and people who are calling in trying to figure out how to get started in the home buying process. So he's also going to kind of disclose some of the smoke and mirrors and why finding, people laugh at me. We talk about integrity, we talk about honesty, we talk about transparency. But, Dan can tell you a little bit about some stories of people calling in that have just had horror stories.
For sure.
Yeah. And so that's the other thing. He's going to give us a buzz. But, and then I have a friend, and I sold his house, and I found him a house. And he's always been so good about articulating the argument with for sale by owners. He's a really smart guy, very cerebral guy, and could probably do it on his own. But we had, on all sides of it, so many things go wrong that at one point he said to me, I don't understand how anyone thinks that they can do this on their own. And then once in a blue moon, somebody shows up, like my brother, who says, oh, you don't need an agent. You just do it this way. And everything falls in line perfectly. So Scott's going to talk about why you need an agent, maybe why you don't need an agent, and the ups and downs of Zillow. So, but my favorite thing is when people say, oh, well, you're all going to be replaced, And I'm like, okay, so then what, you're just going to put a lockbox on your house and let anyone come in? Just...
What'll happen is we'll all get into property management, and then they'll hire property managers to sell their house.
Well, there's probably that, which I think is actually, there's definitely that. I think that's, you had to put that out there, didn't you?
Sorry. But we'll still have jobs.
Yeah, I know. Tell me what's going on in your neighborhood right now, real estate-wise.
Real estate-wise, just nothing, actually. Diddly squat. I am trying to get some friends of mine to move into my neighborhood.
Well, there's no houses.
There's no houses.
If you want to sell, you have to call us. You need to sell.
For seriously, that's
For
That's what I just
seriously,
said.
for shizzle,
For sure.
serious, 100
Yeah,
million
I do a
percent.
search every single day in my zip code, in the zip code just a little bit north of me. I look in, they're also interested in a couple of the other.
Are you 221?
Nice. I'm in 221. So they're looking in 206, 221, the north side of 203, even 214, although, like I told them, Indian Village is such a right turn from
I'm
all
your
of those
214
places.
girl.
Oh, for sure, gorgeous. But, like, what they can buy in 221
Yeah.
versus what they can buy in 214 is vastly different.
Unless they're willing,
different.
unless they're willing to ride it out on a block that's still okay.
No, they want gorgeous. So gorgeous in Indian Village is gonna get a little.
Gorgeous in Indian Village is $500,000.
Yeah.
To 657.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the
That's
city that was almost
nice.
bankrupt 5 years ago?
That was bankrupt 5 years ago.
Well, I don't know. Do we actually declare bankruptcy?
Oh.
I don't think we actually went bankrupt.
We did.
Maybe we did. I like to kind of put it out of my mind.
Right.
I was so worried
It's
about
the
the
dark
pensions.
times, trying not to
I know.
Yeah. So, but I look every single day in all those neighborhoods, and maybe 2 listings that fit their criteria hit a week, but it's just because it's 2 houses and then the entire week it doesn't have the ensuite bathroom that they want.
I know.
Or it doesn't have the whatever. So like we just slowly look.
Yeah, my favorite thing is I showed a house. Let's see, this week I was on Monica, Gricksdale, Haverhill, Weyburn, Outer Drive, both sides, East and West, Oakman, both sides, St. Mary's, Buena Vista. Anyway, been through all these areas, and I've had there's several nice couples I'm working with, and I've said this before. You've probably heard me say this, but it happened again. And the wife said, or girlfriend or partner, whatever, she said, I just don't understand why you can't get an attached garage in Detroit, like a 2-car garage. Why are they all like 1 car and they're all detached? And I said, because in like 1940, nobody had 2 cars. In fact, a lot of people didn't have a car. And the same goes in Birmingham and Pleasant Ridge and Ferndale.
Car. Like that wasn't a garage attached was not a thing.
Yeah.
We sold a house that had we're going to put really big quotation marks around this one. It had an attached garage. So
Breezeway?
They were almost there. They were thinking about it. They put the garage, tucked it under the roof. There was a little room above the garage, but there was no door from the garage to the house. So you would go in and you'd park your car, and then you had to either walk through the backyard or through the front yard to get to the front or back door of the house because there was no
Which
door.
defeats the whole purpose of having an attached garage. Unless you're Fonzie and you live upstairs.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, this one, it was like, put a fireman pole in, maybe you could like get up to the room up top, or, walk. I think they ended up doing a lot of walking through the backyard, so they weren't walking through their front yard.
Yeah.
It was closer to the kitchen that way. But I remember everyone would be like, they'd walk in and be, oh my gosh, there's an attached garage. This is amazing. And then like, where's the door?
Oh my God.
Like, well, this was built in 1924 and they had started thinking about it, but they hadn't executed it well yet.
Yeah. I always like to say, well, this one doesn't have an attached garage, but it does have a detached carriage house.
There we go.
And it is a carriage house. You are listening to Motown Realty, real information about real estate for real people. I am with you. What you prefer, Taylor, Gibbons? What do you prefer?
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Just tell. Surely you must have a preference. I don't, and don't call me.
Well, so my license is under Taylor, but I think my email goes by Gibbons.
Yeah.
So half the time it's Taylor, half the time it's Gibbons.
Well, you're Melissa Taylor, Heather Dell on WJZZ Cool TV and podcast. We should have Dan calling in any minute. We have our show today. We're talking about aside. Oh, I think that's him. Is that Dan? Hello.
This is Dan.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. Can you turn up your volume a little bit, Dan?
Turn up my volume.
Oh, there you go.
Better.
All right. Volume turned up.
So Dan is, for our listeners and our viewers, Dan is in our office, and I can't say goddess, could I say Adonis, of all things organized. Mm-hmm. He's the king of keeping everybody on track. And one of the things that you do, we're talking today about the Zillow, and we're talking about why you need an agent or why you don't need an agent, I get a lot of people that call in, write in, and they say, Heather, I mean, like, I don't really need an agent, right? I mean, for sale by owner, and then Melissa was just talking about Zestimates, and I had some nice buyers that actually you referred over from the team, showed them a house on Iroquois, and they had no idea how Zillow worked. Like, they thought they were getting a premier agent who had 1,000 sales and 5 stars, and they kept saying, we just kept calling these premier agents, but so many of them had no idea. Like, they didn't even know the neighborhood. So I thought maybe you could share a little bit about, you have such a good working knowledge of Zillow and Realtor.com, and talk a little bit to our viewers and listeners about how it works when they actually call in, and why it's important to have a relationship with a local realtor, with somebody that knows your neck of the woods.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think Melissa, probably has super good insight on where Zillow falls short for sellers. Most of the people I deal with, the vast majority of them are buyers, right? People shopping for a home to buy on Zillow, which I want to say I think is probably how 99% of like the population shops for a home, right? Like, in the internet age, it's inevitable that you just you kind of have to deal with Zillow as a realtor. But basically, the way I see it is a buyer will see a home they like, and they will basically click on a button. There's a couple buttons they can click. Like, one of them's more information. One of them's like schedule a tour. And either way, no matter like what button they click on Zillow, they're going to come through to a quote premier agent, right? And really all that is the agent who has paid to advertise on Zillow in that specific zip code. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who specializes in that zip code, but just somebody who opted in that area. So, but for me, I get a lot of inbound calls from Zillow, and basically my role is to kind of explain them, like, look, I'm not the person selling this home, but the value I can provide is what is called a buyer's agent. So it's not only important for sellers to have their own agents, but it's really important for buyers to have their own agents working for them. Just like you would have a lawyer who works for you in the courtroom, you want to have your own agent who works for you out in the world and is finding you the properties. Like, sure, you can search on your own time and see stuff on Zillow or whatever, but the fact of the matter is a lot of the information on Zillow is inaccurate. So you really do want a professional to not only find you a home, but then, like, one of the selling points with us is we simply are just going to have way better success rate of actually getting you the home that you want. It's not easy to buy a home. It's a very difficult process when you talk about title work, legal issues, all that stuff. It's not easy, so you do want a professional doing it. I don't know. Did I cover all the bases there, or?
No, well, I think something too I always like to bring up too, the information on the consumer websites is not deemed reliable. It's not, like the MLS, we pay to belong to the multiple listing service, and we pay for our licensing and Real Comp and our local and our national affiliates. And those databases are tied into tax records and information that's associated with municipalities and cities and states. And I know there's disclaimers there somewhere, but our information is deemed accurate. When you're dealing with like the Zillow or Realtor.com or Trulia or HotPads, or I could go on and on and on, right? They're not obligated to give you correct information. Like, they're not held accountable for anything. A couple years ago, my mom called me in a panic because her house was for sale on Zillow, and it wasn't for sale. And, I had to explain to somebody that you can create a page and you can do anything you want on there, and you can put a house up for sale by owner.
It's like the Wikipedia of
real
estate, essentially.
It's exactly what it is. Or
for sure. I've heard that same scam. Yeah, I've experienced almost an identical thing myself. Yeah.
So that kind of also goes back to having a human contact and somebody that you know, and not necessarily relying on just the consumer sites. They're great interface, I love the apps. I get all that, the pictures and all that kind of stuff. But it's the whole idea of the premier agent and what an agent can do for you. And Dan, just for our viewers, our listeners, in the state of Michigan, does it cost a buyer to work with a buyer's agent?
Most of the time, no.
Okay.
So I say most of the time because, as you know, we work in a peculiar market in a few different ways, being in Detroit. So most of the time, outside of Detroit, it's never going to cost you anything. Maybe maximum a couple $100 to have your own buyer's agent, because the seller pays commission. So at the end of the day, when a house closes, the seller pays the buyer's agent commission. The only fee that can be associated, you might be a brokerage fee or something of like a $295 or
like
something.
A compliance or filing or something.
Just to file the paperwork, hold the deed at the brokerage, just some of that boring stuff. But so we work in Detroit, and we work in a peculiar place where the average home value, because we are dealing with a lot of distressed abandoned properties, the average home value can be quite low. So once the home value is somewhere below about $50,000, that 3% commission that a buyer's agent would typically receive from a seller starts to dwindle down to about $1,000. And frankly, it's just no real estate agent could ever live off the amount of money they could get, so they have to set minimum commissions. Usually that's about $1,500 or $2,000.
And then that doesn't all go to the actual realtor, right, Dan?
No. The realtor probably only gets 50% of that. That's why they couldn't survive off the $1,000. They would really only take home after taxes, paying their brokerage fees themselves. Yeah, there's so many behind the scenes costs to be a realtor. It's very expensive. I guess that's something people don't know.
So it's like I don't show a house and make 6%. Is that what you're saying?
Wouldn't it be nice?
You mean it's not like Property Brothers?
No, if there was ever a gig where, like, the way you get paid is, like, you really have to earn it. A house has to close for a realtor to get paid. Like, it's quite crazy when you think about it. When you think about how long you'll work with a client and how much you'll actually go through with them until you receive a paycheck, it's pretty wild. There's really no other industry like it. But yeah, moral of the story, in Detroit, there's a few cases when you're dealing with really low property values, where a buyer will have to spring, an extra $500 just to make sure their agent can buy groceries the next week, because the cost of the sale. And really, I think of it like a retainer fee, like a lawyer would do to one of their clients, where we're not necessarily going to be in court, and I'm not going to be winning cases for you all the time, but if you want me to do research and file paperwork and answer your phone calls all the time, you're going to have to, we're going to have to work out some type of agreement. And that's how I think about some of those cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you want to have a buyer's agent. You don't want to just go to Zillow and call the list agent, who isn't actually probably the list agent anyway. They're just a premier agent that paid the most to buy up the zip code, because then you're actually paying someone else to have a coach, but you don't have a coach. It's like giving the other team a coach, but your team doesn't have a coach.
Right. And there's people who kind of, many real estate agents do both. They buy or they sell properties and they help buy properties. But there's a lot of agents out there who do specialize in specific aspects of buying homes, specific categories of buying homes. So it is good to find that agent that can kind of specialize in what you're looking for and is, really good in the market that you're shopping in. So yeah, I mean, Zillow is, once again, it's not, it's not all negative. I just think there's a lot of misconceptions with it from the consumer standpoint,
So when someone calls our office, say they're a first-time buyer, right? and they get you on the phone. You can say they don't know where to start. They don't know where to get a mortgage. They don't understand the process. Someone good on the other end with a good team, and a team admin like you. This is a great thing for first-time buyers, or even somebody who just hasn't bought or sold a house in a long time, or somebody who's busy and they're exchanging properties. When that call comes in and someone says, "So, I want to see this house. What are some of the questions you would ask that they should be prepared to answer?"
Yeah, some of my initial questions are things like, honestly, getting the financing side of things figured out is a real big concern of mine right away. Um, so, like, some of the first questions, like, one of my common ones is, like, have you thought about how you would purchase a property, right? Like, just like you would walk into a grocery store and you have some idea of how you're going to pay for a loaf of bread, whether that's cash or a credit card or what have you, you go into the store with some type of idea of how you're going to make a purchase, and shopping for a home should be no different. So whether that is paying cash, just like buying anything else, you have the full amount in cash, or you're going to need some type of a loan, whether that's a mortgage, whether that is a land contract, and then I won't really like flood people with information, but basically, if you say we're looking at a house that costs $100,000, I'll ask them, well, do you have $100,000 in cash? And I'll kind of make a joke like, most people don't. That's just a lot of money to have in cash. And then I'll say, okay, no, you need a loan, and in real estate, what that is called is a mortgage. And then I'll get them in touch with a lender who can kind of fill them in and educate them on some of those first steps of getting pre-approved with a mortgage. But that's step number one. That's one of my big questions. And then the other big questions are like, what exactly are they looking for in a home? What kind of neighborhood do they want to live in? What are some of their like life needs that I know they won't compromise on? Like if you have 3 teenage kids, you probably need 3 bedrooms. They all need their own bedrooms, So like, just getting some of those like major details out of the way, so I can also provide something of value and show them some of the homes that I can bring to the table.
I think that's awesome. I love working with you, Dan. Melissa, you like working with Dan?
I like working with Dan.
Everybody likes Dan.
You two are the best as well.
Well, no, it's just you know how to diffuse situations really well too, and it's particularly when you have title and FOIA and all that stuff. More reasons to use an agent. Well, Dan, thank you so much. Dan Dufour of J. Taylor Associates. You are watching, listening to WJZZ Cool TV. This is Motown Realty. I've got Melissa Taylor. I'm Heather Dell. Dan Dufour from our office. Thanks for calling in, Dan. Any final thoughts for anyone who might be combing the Zillow?
Not really. Give me a call and I'll help you out. Look for J. Taylor and Associates. Thank you too. I'll see you back in the office.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. He's so great.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this thing where before we had a Dan, we had a me answering the phone, and every phone that came in went through me first, and then I had to decide if that was something I would send to Jay or something I'd keep for myself.
Looks like we have another call.
Another one.
Hi, this is Heather Dell and Melissa Taylor. Listen to Motown Realty on WJZZ Cool TV. Who's this?
Hi, Heather. This is Scott.
Hi, Scott. Nice to, thanks for calling in. We are talking today about why you need an agent, or do you need an agent? We just had Dan, our team admin from the office, talking about how Zillow works, the Zillow, and the caveats, the ups and downs of it. And full disclosure, I did sell Scott's house, and I did help him buy a house. And I'd love for you to tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about, why you need an agent, or maybe sometimes you don't, because that's often something we hear. The differences between a Zestimate and a market comp, and basically your experience. You kind of ran the gamut. You had pretty easy on the outgoing, and then landing was a little bit tougher. So if you could just tell us a little bit about if you're either a first-time buyer or getting back into the market, why would you want an agent? Why does this agent that makes so much money? Why do you need an agent?
So okay, you don't need an agent, right? You don't need one. You can do all the work yourself. You can fill out all the forms yourself. You can market your own house. You can do all of that on your own.
Pay an attorney, pay a title company.
Oh, absolutely. You can do all that, but if everything goes swimmingly well and there's no issues, it's still a lot of work, but you can do it.
And is it usually the case where it's really easy?
No. So I've had both experiences on multiple homes where it just went lickety split, and you kind of think back and say, well, I could have done that, to having a struggle getting everything completed and sold and arranged and inspected. And it's so what I say is, so you don't need one. However, as soon as you get into a hiccup, for somebody trying to do it on their own, you're scrambling, and you really wish you had that expertise of someone who has probably seen this before.
Yeah,
right?
and don't you think that, when you say it's lickety split or it's easy, like sometimes I watch figure skating, and they make it look so.
Doesn't that look simple?
It looks so. They make it look, and gymnastics, they make it look so easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was out stumbling around in my hockey skates.
But it's not necessarily that easy. And certainly buying a house on your own isn't easy.
So even when there's no issues that pop up, you still don't have. It's just the paperwork alone and the forms and processing things. That's a lot of work. So yeah, it boils down to, I've purchased 3 homes in my lifetime over 52 years. Now, obviously, a few of those years I wasn't buying a house, but I've purchased 3 homes, sold 2, and I'm not in the business. I don't know what makes a house more marketable than another house. A good agent will.
And what do you mean by that?
So when we were working and looking to do updates to my previous home, I was fixated on items to update, like bathrooms. And you very accurately and correctly guided me away from those big expenditures, because it really didn't make it wasn't a significant aspect to the home that made it more sellable. And there were a lot of things in the house that I finished off that really helped finish off the home as a whole, that made a lot more impact on the home's sellability, if that's a word.
Yeah, saleability.
That were much more cost effective for me to complete with some labor of my own.
So what do you? So if someone's selling, like, should they leave up all their pictures or have a lot of stuff, or do they really need to just make it look like a magazine, or pay to have the bathrooms redone? Or in your experience, did you find that just...
Yeah. So ultimately, it's all about what the seller wants to do, right? I remember looking at homes that I was looking to purchase, and it's way easier to evaluate a home when there's now a bunch of stuff all over the place.
So clutter negates equity.
Decluttering is a big deal. And so even back when I was buying my previous house in 2000, there were multiple homes in that subdivision that I ended up buying in that I looked at that had just stuff everywhere, and it's to the point where it was making it hard to evaluate how the walls were and whether it was a soundly built house. It was just so much stuff, and yeah, that doesn't make the house very marketable. But a good realtor will help guide you as to what you need to do to make your house prepared to go on the market. You mentioned Zillow, and Zillow is a fantastic application to run on your phone that makes gathering data for neighborhoods and how homes are listed is very user friendly and a fantastic resource. But anything other than using it to find homes and then looking at what the actual sell price for a house is, it's not worth. It's good for getting pictures, but walking through a house.
Yeah, taking our pictures that we paid for on the MLS.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things you helped convince me of was having the house professionally photographed.
Yeah.
And looking through the pictures that ended up going on the listing versus what I would have put on there and saying, okay, you go into this and I don't need to pay somebody to do this. I can do this. Well, it makes a difference. All the little things all add up. And a good realtor will help you on both sides of the equation, both the buy and the sell. And if you're smart, you listen to them.
Oh, look at that. And just so for our viewers and our listeners, when you start working with an agent and they come in and they give you, 15, 20 hours and help, consulting and giving you the estimates and telling you what to do with the house, and does that cost you anything?
It doesn't cost me a dime.
Right.
No.
Because the realtor doesn't get paid unless there's a closing, right?
They don't, and there's a lot of effort. So our looking at the selling of my old home went easy. It was absolutely, 2 or 3 days it was on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it went super quick, and the timing was great. And what you guided me to complete house-wise and decluttering, all of that, I absolutely believe made a big difference. And again, if I hadn't been listening to you, I probably would have spent quite a bit of money on doing some bathroom updates that I don't think I would have recouped my money on.
Right.
So I'm that the advice and guidance that you gave me that I was smart enough to follow really made the house marketable and had it sell real easy. On the other side of the equation, we ran into all kinds of trouble with finding a home in the area that I wanted to live that was laid out well enough for me and size and the like. Right? We ran into, and that was the frustrating part, was putting my house up for sale when I thought I had 2 or 3 really, really good candidate homes that none of them turned out to be. So
contingencies
had a little bit of an interim gap there of being homeless.
Yeah, and that brings up contingencies too. So if you're a buyer and you go to the list agent, but you have to sell your house and an offer isn't as solid with a contingency as it is without a contingency, do you really think the list agent is going to help you out?
Well, right, and that's why you need the agents to be there.
Yeah.
Doing all of that on your own is having yourself covered for all those contingencies. If you don't do this every day, again, those are the things that go wrong, and you end up caught. and where a realtor earns their money.
Oh, Melissa, you hear that?
I sure did. All the money.
That's I yeah. Heather and I have discussed this a few times, and the short answer is no. You don't need a realtor. But the watching the number of deals, just my own circumstances that I thought were good that fell apart. That if I didn't have her as a resource to help guide me, I'm grateful that she was involved in the transaction. She definitely earned her money.
I mean, you don't need someone to do your taxes either. You don't need a lawyer. You can go to the law library and file your own forms at the township.
No.
I mean, I suppose even if you really wanted to, you could pull your own tooth, right? I mean, in theory.
Just need a string and a door.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just slam the door.
So I'm doing I'm getting ready to do some modeling in this house. Like, I can do it all. Right? I am an intelligent person. I can read. And I can learn how to do it. And I'll probably screw it up a few times. It'll probably take me a year to get it all done to my satisfaction. Or I can pay somebody who does this all day long and have it done in a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and trust that their expertise is worth paying for.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's people don't walk into my business and expect that they can do what I do for a living.
What do you do?
Work for the government and work on big tan vehicles, and I have to deal with contracting actions and engineering, guiding engineers, and it's a rather specialized work. But that's what I've earned the experience and expertise to do that.
But I mean, really, if someone really wanted to learn how to build a tank, they could probably find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But see how ridiculous that sounds, right? It sounds so ridiculous, right. But then selling the largest asset that you'll ever own in most cases, with the tendrils of numerous legal issues and state, municipal, and federal, and
Right. So again, when everything runs perfectly, it's a clean exchange. The titles are clear. If the house appraises correctly, when everything goes smooth, it's like clockwork. But there are so many opportunities for hiccups that, again, for most people, their most valuable asset. It is definitely worth having an expert that does this every single day in there to make sure that you're not accepting more risk than you're willing to take, and that you don't need to.
There's one other thing I want to ask you about, but I just want to take a quick break and say, listen to Motown Realty. Melissa Terrell, I'm Heather Dell. Real information about real estate for real people on WJZZ Cool TV. I think we are the coolest station in the world now, officially. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, so you can like, subscribe, share, and comment. The other question I had for you was, in Detroit, we have a lot of the whole appraisal issue, right? So something that an agent can help you navigate.
Not necessarily in just Detroit.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's very hard to comp houses in Detroit. You're in an area where it is also hard to comp houses, not for terribly different reasons. There's you've got like a tear down, you've got a giant McMansion, giant pencil house, and then a cottage, because you're in a lakes area. You're just north of Detroit, right, in southeast Oakland County. So, how do you think the realtor's role helped when the house that you really wanted to buy didn't appraise but you knew that the intrinsic value was worth bringing that cash. Like how did we work through that together? How did that help in that situation?
Yeah, well, having additional resources to be able to get a second appraisal done. Also having the ability that both you and the seller's agent both went back to that appraisal and argued it.
We did a defense. Appraisal defense, yeah.
Right, thank you. Yeah, see, terms, even though terms that I was involved in that I don't recall that you do.
They're fun to write.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why you pay a realtor, right? So, yeah, that was that was very frustrating because we'd already been through probably at least 6 houses, right? Had inspected 4 or 5 houses,
Yeah.
and then I had at this point in time when I found this house, I just assumed it was going to appraise.
Yeah.
That was just an assumption. So imagine how baffled I was when the bank says, "No, your house isn't worth that." What? So, yeah, that was hard for me to put my arms around. So you went to work on the defense, and then we also had a second appraisal done. And then when both of those came back lower than anticipated, it was basically, okay, well, we had it inspected and we had some money off the house for some little teeny tiny maintenance things, but the house was very sound. But at that point in time, we've been working on it, and I think the seller was probably motivated to just be done with it as well. Obviously, they wanted more for the house, and I had agreed to a price higher, but I wasn't going to go. I had a number in my head as to how much above the appraised value I was willing to put money in, and I think that while they wanted me to put more in, I don't think there's a lot of people that are willing to purchase homes above what the bank thinks the house is worth. So I definitely saw some intrinsic value in the location, and I made an offer for what I thought was fair above that price. And I basically, this is it. This is the number. Take it or leave it.
Because, here's something about...
Luckily, because there was so much work that was done in time that had elapsed and multiple appraisals that it wasn't just one bad appraisal, I think the seller understood I think the seller understood they were happy to get above the appraised value at all.
And it's really unfair because the banks and the Zillow, like, they look at prices per square foot. They plug in like house to like house. What they don't take into account is that you can walk to a really beautiful inland lake and you have dock privileges and you have a boat and you don't pay property taxes commensurate with a lake resident in Oakland County. And
right.
you have access to all this stuff and beaches and community centers, and these are things that a realtor can help you identify that an algorithm or a spreadsheet, a bank, or the Zillow can't.
Yeah, I've always been amazed that the bank doesn't. Right, I understand what they do, but you're right. Intrinsic value of a house has different meanings to different people but that's why I wanted to move here. And so I've always while I'm grateful that I got the house at less than I was willing to pay for it, I still think it's worth more.
Yes.
Even as I bought it, but I wasn't going to go too far above what the bank thought it was worth. Because then now it's just money. I'm writing a check. The bank doesn't see.
Well, thank you.
Kind of all about that.
Thanks for calling in. Melissa, do you have any questions for him?
No, not really. Except for I think it's great that you got the house. Congrats. Also, do you take tours on that boat of yours?
Absolutely. I'm always happy to have somebody come out with me.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh, he loves to show off his boat. He loves to show off his boat. Tell Melissa what you've got.
Yeah, I got my. I was lucky enough to find a 1939 mahogany Chris-Craft. It's the smallest Chris-Craft that they made besides out of the plant in Algonac. So it's a little 16-footer.
It's like the one Jackie Onassis was always in.
Okay, that's that's.
But
What
it's
is it?
just
Hold
a little.
on, I know the word. Yar. Is she yar?
Yeah, it's the smallest one they made, but it's perfect for the little lake that I'm on.
All right. Well, thank you so
And I
much
get
for your
lots of
time.
comments.
Yes, you do get the appropriate amount of comments.
Exactly. And I'm always happy to take anyone out. All they gotta do is call.
Fantastic.
Don't put my number out on the podcast.
No, we won't do that. Well, thanks so much for calling in and helping our listeners and our viewers understand a little bit more about why you need an agent, why maybe you don't need an agent, and the difference between dealing with Zillow and dealing with a human being.
Yeah. Zillow's good for what Zillow's good for.
Any parting wisdom for somebody out there who's just starting to look?
Yeah, call Heather Dell.
Oh, or Melissa Taylor, or Jay
Melissa
Taylor.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks. You have a great. It's almost Friday, so you have a great weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to be down to the showroom looking at some remodeling ideas tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
It'll be great.
Go tap that equity.
No, I could. Yep.
All right.
That's the plan. All right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Talk to
Bye.
you later.
Melissa, do you have a good story about a really difficult transaction that you were so instrumental in? I mean, I know I sound really self-congratulatory, but man, what we do is really hard.
It is. Yeah. Let me think. This is kind of a funny story. Jay and I are both in real estate, and then the rest of our family is in Nebraska. So they're not here, and they can't really use our services because Michigan and Nebraska don't have a reciprocity agreement. So they use other realtors, God bless them. But my brother and my dad both in the last year decided that they were going to buy and sell their houses without a realtor. And what that really meant was they kept on calling us.
Yeah, they got free advice.
To say like, hey, what do you think I should do with this? And my dad's was like a dream. His was the thing where like, I think I helped find the paperwork for him on his state's website, and then I did some shopping around for him for a good title company that would like sort of hold his hand.
So he did use a realtor. He just didn't pay for it.
He didn't have to pay for one. So I sort of like laid it out and let him do it. And then my brother's was not as easy. He had a buyer who like they were both just gonna sort of spit and shake hands on this thing. And then they kept on coming back with more and more like demands on the house, and I was like, "Don't you wish you had someone who could negotiate for you right now?" So there was multiple times as I'm like cooking dinner for myself, as I'm telling him like, "You should try to counter with this, or see if he would negotiate with that." And we got it to sell. I again didn't get a commission. He didn't even send me a bottle of wine.
You didn't even get a gift card?
Ben, if you're listening, I'm waiting for my wine.
Yeah, not even a gift card? Come on.
Not even a gift card. But yeah, we were able to like get him way more money than he thought he would. And I guess that anecdote is, if you have a sibling in real estate, see if you can get them to do it for free. Because he still didn't do his agent free transaction, but he didn't have to then, I guess, pay for an agent because I did it pro bono. Yeah, but that was a tricky one. What was the thing that they were trying to do? His roof was 5 years old, and the buyer wanted him to put on a new roof, tear down, put on a new roof.
Makes no sense.
Because it wasn't brand new. They wanted like within the year. So I was able to knock them over the head a little bit.
We are out of time.
Out of time. And are we
Thank
dead?
you. Thanks for